Hello friends, it's Greg here again on the Blue Feather Ephemera channel. I have an eBay store by the same name where I sell vintage magazine print advertising. Now, as you can see on the intro graphic here, all of the buyers skedaddled. Well, not all of them. There were only 12 buyers that stopped by and saw old Blue Feather here during the week of September the 23rd to the 29th. But they bought some great advertisements. We're going to take a look at them. Let's get started. We're going to start with this 1977 ad from a retailer in Lexington, Kentucky called Myers, and they're advertising a skincare line called the Erno Laszlo Institute, and it says if you make an appointment with them, they can do an analysis of your skin. They've got this questionnaire there, and it looks like there's probably 50 or more questions about what kind of skin you have. I sold this ad for $15, discounted from $16.77. This next ad goes all the way back to 1930. The advertiser is Bayley Steel Windows and Doors. It's a company based in Springfield, Ohio. And in the details here, they're showing off some of the projects that they've worked on here. And they include this fancy looking place at the top left-hand corner with the Art Deco facade is actually a high school located in Wichita, Kansas. And, Wichita, Kansas, that's right. And then here's a residence that they've provided windows and doors for. And you can see it's got a nice looking, I guess you'd call that a solarium on the side there. This is a weave shed for a textile mill. Down at the bottom, you've got a machine shop for the Atlantic coastline. And then this place right here is a bakery. At the top, in the text, it says, head, heart, and hand. The best of each go into Bayley Windows and Doors. I sold this for $16.77. This ad from 1962 ran in Progressive Farmer magazine, and they're advertising what's called a buddy boat, and the company is DeSoto Manufacturing Company of Memphis, Tennessee. Now, what this company calls a buddy boat, I grew up calling a John boat, and I believe that most people did. There were several companies that made them. Now, this company closed. I did a Google search. This company closed in 1996, so they had at least a good 34-year run making these boats. Now, in the pictures here, they're showing a 12-foot model and a 14-foot model that you see here. And this one has an outboard motor on it. Now, when I was growing up, I knew a lot of people that had boats like this. And, we used to say that going down the river in a John boat was about as much fun as you could have with your clothes on. And the reason why was because, going up and down the Cumberland River here in Harlan, Kentucky is a little bit different than going down the Cumberland River by Nashville, Tennessee, because up here at the headwaters, going down the river means that you float a little pool and then you get out and you have to carry your boat across the shoals and then get back in it. And there's only one way to go. You go downriver, you don't come back up because there's rapids and shoals and all that kind of stuff. So no way to use a motor on this kind of water. But anyway, another kind of nostalgia for me. I had a lot of fun in boats like this growing up. I sold this ad for $11.77. This is a page from a publication called Ideals, and this was issued in 1960, and it ran for several decades. And what they did is they compiled material for various different themes. There were holiday themes, and there was hometown and patriotic themes, and seasons, summer, winter, fall, and all of that kind of stuff. And so when they came out, it wasn't necessarily on a monthly schedule, but they were regularly published. This one came from a Christmas publication, and what you see here is a Bible verse. It's Micah chapter 6, verse 8, and it talks about what the Lord requires of thee. I sold this page for $11.77. Here's a beautiful ad from 1957, and it shows a wild rice pancake mix made by, the brand is Hiawatha, but the company, and this here is the hardest part of this job, is trying to figure out some of these pronunciations, because I think this is derived from the French, being in St. Paul, Minnesota, and if you've watched the channel at all, you know I always say that I'm not French and you can't make me speak it. But I looked it up, I tried to get help, and I think it's pronounced Mille Maple Products Company of St. Paul, Minnesota. It's a small ad. I love the artwork on this ad. It shows this little bear getting ready to dig in. It measures roughly 3 inches by about 5.5. I sold it for $7.77. When you look at this piece of paper here, are you getting the sense of deja vu all over again? You might be, because if you watched not the last video, but the one before that, I showed the same ad. It was either identical or very nearly identical. It's the same product, the same company. This is a Christy sport knife, and it has 3 blades in one. They were made in Fremont, Ohio, and I'll zoom in here so you can see. It's got an open brass frame that goes around like this. This part is open, and the blade actually slides out and will lock into position at 3 different lengths, and that's why they call it 3 blades in one. Now, something that I forgot to say in the last coverage of this is it can be a pocket knife. You can slide it into your pocket, and the way the blade slides into the handle is perfectly safe to do so. But I forgot to mention this feature right here. This is a little loop that's on the handle, and it's made to be worn on a chain like a pocket watch. You would have a chain for your knife as well. This, like I said, is made of brass. It's also chromium plated steel and a surgical steel blade. I sold this ad for $9.77. This is a nice ad here. I've got a couple of things to tell you about as we look at it. First, it came from a 1965 publication. The product is a Honda Super Cub motorcycle. That's I put the color in there. It's red, and it shows a dad and son apparently at some kind of a wildlife park or a zoo. And I can't imagine a zoo would let you just zoom through the zoo on one of these things, but it makes a nice location for an ad. And giraffes are popular. A lot of people like to collect giraffe things. I know a couple of them. I also wanted to mention that the color is not great on this picture of this ad. Before I got my lighting situation right, this looks like it's kind of bled out color wise, but it was actually a very vivid ad, and it would have probably sold quicker if the color had been nice. But I sold this ad for $13.77. This small ad ran in Sports Illustrated magazine 1957. The advertiser is Porsche, and it says their handling qualities are proven on the race courses of the world. It mentions Sebring and Le Mans and places like that. It says it's an air-cooled rear engine, servo mesh transmission, torsion bar suspension, and twice-size brakes. They have 9 models available, beginning at $3,215. Now, sometimes when prices are mentioned, I get curious about that kind of thing, and so I wondered what $3,215 in 1957 really meant. Now, you see a 2-door sports car here. Now, in 1974, Ford made a car called a Maverick, and that's a 4-door sedan. That is the kind of car that I took my driver's test in 1987. The thing is, I looked up the base cost of a 1974 Ford Maverick. It was only $2,824. And so it was less in 1974, 17 years later. The price of that Ford Maverick was less than this little German sports car. Now, $3,215 in 2025 would be $35,849 adjusted for inflation, but the price of that 1974 Ford Maverick would only be $17,370. What the customer paid for this ad was $11.77. This is an advertisement from 1937. The product is Tenderleaf Tea, and the advertiser is Standard Brands Products. And what this is it's an advertisement for this tea, and the headline here says it's the winner, and that's got a kind of a northeastern Yankee ring to it. And what I didn't do in the title of the listing, let me back up and show you that I did not put the word anthropomorphic in there, but anytime you have any kind of anthropomorphic image in an ad, it's a good idea to put that in there. There's a lot of folks that look for anthropomorphic things, but this is an anthropomorphic tea box here. It's a box that has human qualities, and this one's in the boxing ring. But it says that in your teacup, things like lemon, milk, cream, and sugar won't knock out the taste of the tea. And that's because it's made of the young, tender, most fragrant leaves that they collect. And I sold this ad for $14.77. Next is a 1963 advertisement that ran in Look magazine. The advertiser is De Beers Consolidated Mining. And in this ad, of course, they've got their catchphrase at the top, "A diamond is forever." And like they did in so many ads for many years, maybe decades, they featured a work of art. This one is called Love's First Joy. It's painted for De Beers, the De Beers collection by Thomas Vincent, and it just shows a young girl here, and she appears to be so very in love. Over here it talks about how to determine a diamond's value, what to look for, how to buy one. I sold this ad for $14.77. Here's a 1962 ad, and I showed a different 1962 ad in recent weeks that also had an endorsement by this actress. This is Lucille Ball. The other one had both Lucy and Ricky, or Desi, if you want to call him Desi Arnaz. But they both endorsed that product. I believe it was cigarettes, and if I'm not mistaken, it was either Philip Morris or Marlboro. I can't remember exactly. But here Lucy is endorsing a Roberts 1040 stereo tape recorder. Now, when I say tape recorder, I'm talking about the old school reel-to-reel tapes. I believe that most of them were 7-inch tapes, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 7-inch reels. But anyway, Lucille says, "My advice to anyone who wants to improve his musical or speaking ability is to use a Roberts 1040 tape recorder for rehearsal." And I sold this small ad for $9.77. Here's another small ad, this one from 1979, and the advertiser is the Kiss Lamp Company of Meriden, Connecticut, and they're selling a lamp called Ye Old Hitching Post Table Lamp. And what you can see here is that the main base of the lamp is a horse's head with the ring, and this is what you used to see on hitching posts more decoratively than functionally throughout the early part of the 20th century when hitching posts were just there for artistic reasons. But this small ad right here measures less than 6 inches by about 3, and I sold it for $7.77. This is ad number 12, and it's the last sale of the week. It ran in 1962, and the product here is Mennen Quinsana. That was a powder medication that treated athlete's foot with triple action powder, and that way you could treat your athlete's foot without the burn. And this is a third of a page ad that ran, I believe, in True magazine, if I'm not mistaken. And it's 11 inches high by roughly 3 inches wide. I've got a collector out on the West Coast. I believe they have a sort of a podiatry interest in ads like this. They've bought a few different company ads, but all pertaining to athlete's foot. I sold this one for $12.77. Well, just like old Blue Feather was thinking back during the intro graphic, all of the buyers skedaddled this week. During September the 23rd to the 29th, I only had 12 buyers show up, and they purchased ads worth $145.47. Now, this is, during the test of the free shipping policy, and so the net income from those 12 sales was only $53 for the whole week. And that is definitely the worst weekly result that I've had in probably 2 years. Now, I had many weeks of gross sales during the summer of 2024 that were under $145. I say many, I mean 2, 3, 5, something like that. I know it was more than one, but during this year of 2025, this is definitely the worst result of this year. Now, when you look at the net income, you probably have to go back 2 years to find a week with net income that low. To put it another way, I'm going to show you a comparison of this week compared to the same week of last year. I've generated this report to show you eBay's weekly numbers for the week we just looked at. Notice the discrepancy. They show 13 ads sold and a higher total gross sales amount. And I believe that's because of the difference in time zones. They're including an ad in the week that I am not. I only sold 12. But anyway, because it's hard to grasp how great the difference is, I'm going to cut and paste the actual dollar numbers from last year's sales, and I'm going to put them under here so that you can look at them. While you consider that, I'm going to mention to you what's coming up. I have the analysis of the free shipping trial that I tried out starting July the 10th through September the 30th. That period has concluded. I've got analysis to do and a video to make about that. And I've got some additional what sold videos coming up that are going to show you that recent sales have blown this week out of the water. You're definitely going to want to come back and check out the fantastic ads that have sold since September the 29th. And also, I'll have some featured feedback to show you in upcoming videos as well. Well, I appreciate you watching this until the end. Please like, share, and subscribe. And best of all, leave a comment, even if it's just a friendly hello. I'd love to hear from you. Bye for now.